If you're in Utah and you want to start a podcast or create content to grow your brand, check out Utah Podcast Studio. We're coming out, and this lady stopped us kind of and was like,
She came up to me,
yeah,
said, "Did you see how that asshole parked his car?"
pointing over at the Corvette.
And I was like, "That one?"
She judged this situation, and please don't ever judge. Like, don't be like me.
You had a full
Anyways.
cart of groceries. I had like half a cart of groceries. And
Oh, I
super
had the baby, and you were super pregnant, and you were like beat looking because we just filled up 2 carts at Costco.
not one person offered to help me. And then Dan comes through with his like one item, but he's in a wheelchair, and so and he has one bag, and everyone's like, "Can we help you?"
Well, with your guys' like intimacy or sexual life, like what happens there? Like, are you just paralyzed from the waist down, and like you're just paralyzed, and like there's no intimacy there? But that's just not the case. Anyways,
This is getting so interesting.
yeah, it's really a lot more information than I was thinking. That's why I'm like hesitant on how far we just keep on talking, but.
So if I ever lose my mind, I'll be fine, 'cause you're my silver lining. And if my world comes crashing down, I'll be fine, 'cause you're my silver lining.
Today we're talking about misconceptions about people with disabilities and their partners being the key point.
We've had a lot of interesting things happen over the last 12 years since Dan's been paralyzed. Almost 12 years, huh? In August, it will be 12 years.
Wow, yeah.
That's crazy. But we have had a lot of different experiences. So we kind of just wanted to share some of our stories that we've had of different things that people have said to us or different scenarios that we've been in as persons with disabilities, not just with Dan's paralysis, but also I have MS and some things that I've encountered with that, which is kind of a disease that people can't necessarily see, even though it exists and is very real. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into some stories. What story should we tell first?
Trying to think.
Let's tell the story with Michelle in your Corvette.
All right, the Corvette.
That's a good one.
So just so you know, like I've had this Corvette forever. It's not like something that's like new and fancy and shiny. I mean, it's clean, but it's old. I've had it for like 13 years, longer than my disability. But anyways, this particular day that we're talking about, I was going up to the clinic where we had an appointment. Andrea was going to do, was that just
It was an MRI.
MRI.
Speaking of MS, yeah. It was shortly after I had our 6-year-old Maisie, and I was having a routine MRI done, and Dan was meeting me there so he could take the baby from me so I could have it done.
Yeah. And so I looped around this parking lot several times, and I was already running behind. Like, being early is not my strong point. I try, but time just keeps on disappearing quicker than I think. Anyways, I get there, and I'm driving circles through the parking lot, trying to find a accessible spot to open up, because I actually have to really use the accessible area to get my wheelchair out of the car. I can't just park in a normal spot. So I'm looping around and around. Finally, 2 stalls open up next to each other, and I'm like, all right, cool, I can park right there. So I just backed in and took up both the spots so that I could open my door. And I get out, and I'm heading in, and I don't know if it was just when I was heading in or if I'd been in there. I can't remember, but
No,
we were
coming out.
We were coming out, and this lady like stopped us kind of and was like,
She came up to me,
yeah,
said, "Did you see how that asshole parked his car?"
pointing over at the Corvette.
And I was like, "That one?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "That's my husband's car." And then I pointed to Dan, who's in a wheelchair. I was like, "Yeah, he came to meet me here. We were in a hurry. I was trying to get an MRI done, and there were no spots, so he had to park that way so that he could get his wheelchair out."
She was so embarrassed. She just like felt so bad. She's like, oh my gosh, I will never judge anybody ever again. Like, it just hit her so hard. Like, it really did. It was like such an eye-opening thing for her. She she posts her opinion a lot on another local site, or like our Ogden page. And she was on there just like touting this whole story, how she judged this situation, and please don't ever judge, like don't be like me. And anyways, it was really funny to see her squirm for a minute as we told her the reason why I had to park there was just so I could get my wheelchair out. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I just figured, you see a car like that and you just think that the person is parking like that because they don't want anybody by their car or something.
Yeah. And speaking of parking, like Dan, that's not the first time Dan has parked his car in a way that's interesting. There's been lots of times where we pull up to the school for like a band concert or something. And one time he literally pulled almost all the way to the door of the school, like on the sidewalk. And I'm like, okay, that's a little far. But I am always like, oh, I'm so embarrassed because he's just making his own spots, but it's because he has to. Like there's so many times where all the handicapped stalls are full.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to park if we're at a concert or like there's been so many occasions. But also speaking of handicap parking, I have MS and like I have fatigue a lot. There was one time where I was having a MS relapse and I was battling like crazy fatigue where I could barely get out of bed. I was having to sit to shower. I couldn't cook at the stove without sitting on a stool. And like it was just a really rough time for me. And I ended up having to go to the hospital and do like steroid injections for a week for like a couple hours a session to try to get on top of this inflammation relapse that I was having. And I was coming from one of those appointments and it was like everything I could do. I'm like, oh, we have to get like a few groceries. We have nothing at home. I had been down and out, so we hadn't been grocery shopping. And so I stopped at Walmart with my sister on the way back from my appointment getting this steroid injection. And we actually have a handicap placard that is my handicap placard. It's not even Dan's. And that's what I had in my car, parked in the handicap spot, because when those of you that have experienced fatigue, when you're down and out with fatigue, like going, even just walking into the grocery store, let alone grocery shopping, and then trying to push a full cart of groceries out to the car, unload it and do all the things, like it takes it out of you. And so, yeah, I parked in the handicap spot so I didn't have to walk that far. And, as I got out, so it's me and my sister, and I was probably 35 at the time, younger. I was dressed and had makeup on, and my sister's younger than me. And so we were two young girls, and we get out of this car in the handicap spot. And this older lady drives past us, and she yells out her window, like super feisty. She's like, you need to save this handicap spot for someone that needs it. And like, you shouldn't be parking there. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I actually took all the strength I had in my bones that day and like ran a little ways after her car as she drove off. And I was like, I have MS and I've been in the hospital doing steroid injections, and you need to not judge people. I just really wanted to teach her a lesson. But yeah, I think when you have an invisible disease, you find yourself often in situations. I know every time I park in handicap spot, I feel like I have to start limping when I get out of the car or something, because I'm like, I know people are judging
just
me.
look sad and really worn down for a minute.
Yeah. Ugh. But anyways, yeah, so parking is always an interesting thing. What else?
That just actually made me think of something that we didn't even haven't talked about, but like the whole Costco thing, when I was pushing a big cart full of everything, and well, maybe not even as full as yours. Remember that time then?
Yeah.
Everybody was like really helpful to help me. Andrea was like super pregnant and had the baby.
Yeah. I think I was pregnant and carrying a baby on my hip and pushing another cart. And Dan, or you maybe you had the baby.
I think I had one of them.
I don't know. You had a full cart of groceries. I had like half a cart of groceries. And
I had the baby, and you were super pregnant, and you were like beat looking, because we had just filled up 2 carts at Costco. It took a while, and heading out, like I had plenty of help. I had plenty of people offer me help to like push the cart out and go and help us out and help me out, and then just turn a total blind eye to the fact that this little lady is pushing her shopping cart all barefoot and pregnant across the dirt floors. And
yeah, And there was that time
Anyways,
at the dollar store where we had all the kids. That was a one that stood out. So I had 4 kids with me, super pregnant and a baby, and we were going to buy like Christmas gifts. The kids were each picking out Christmas gifts for each other. So we had all this stuff, all these bags, and then Dan was checking out separately with like a gift that he didn't want the kids to see or something. So he was like behind me. The cashier didn't know we were together. People didn't know we were together. I checked out. I had like my hands full with all the kids, pregnant, all the bags in my hands and stuff, and not one person offered to help me. And then Dan comes through with his like one item, but he's in a wheelchair, and so and he has one bag, and everyone's like, "Can we help you? Can we help you?"
yeah.
Like, okay, it's just funny the misconceptions that you're not capable because you're using a wheelchair, right?
Yeah, and might be that misconception a little bit. People are definitely, they think that they are going to benefit you a bunch trying to help you out, which is really nice that people offer and think that and want to help out. Like at the time, I was always like, just like telling people when we were talking about it to be like, man, just be mindful. Like if you're going to help somebody out that's disabled, like in a wheelchair and all that, like that's cool. I mean, offer to help out. But if you see some, like if your nature is like looking for helping people, like, and you see a little pregnant person pushing all this way too hard, you see something else that like put it into perspective too, and like see if you can help out there. And
then there was that time we were in the Walmart parking lot. It was a blizzard. We were coming out of Walmart. Dan pushed the cart and he told me to get in the car because again, the cold is really hard for me with MS. And so he was like, "You get in the car, I'll unload the groceries." So I went and sat in the front seat. I'm sitting in the heated car, just chilling. While my husband, who uses a wheelchair, is out there loading the groceries into the car. And, Dan knew that it would affect my health and he's trying to take care of and be chivalrous towards his wife. But this sweet little old lady in a motorized
like
cart
98
comes over and she's like, "Can I help you load your groceries into the car?" And I literally was like, "Please don't see me. Please don't see me." Because I just feel I feel like people are going to judge and be like, "Why isn't your wife out here helping you?"
And this little old lady wouldn't take no for an answer. She like got off her little scooter and came over and was trying to like hand me bags to
Dan's
help
so
put them
sweet, though.
inside.
He lets people help him.
And it was,
Some people take offense at it, but Dan's really good about accepting help.
I think it blesses people's lives in some way. Like if somebody has that thought to want to help and do good, like let them help and do good. There's been a couple of times when I've had really elderly people or people that I wouldn't think would be trying to help offer to help, and it's like, all right, sure, let's just let you do that. Remember one of the first times was middle of a snowy winter, and I had my daughter with me. This was like after I just got out of the hospital, and she was like another 80-year-old lady that was like, "Please let me help you." I'm like, okay. So I let her help put the groceries in, and then I was starting to get into the car and take apart my wheelchair, and she's like, "Oh, let me do that, hun." She's like, I'm like, "No, really, I've got to take it apart and put it in a certain way." And she's like, "No, really, let me help you." And she's like trying to take the wheels off and help out. It was funny.
Yeah, sometimes help is my dad one time was trying to help Dan through the entryway to get into his house, and he dumped Dan out of his wheelchair. So yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, I would say offer to help, but then be okay if they say no, and then just like, okay, move on, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, so the other part of this was the misconceptions about the spouse of someone who's disabled. So there's something that I've had kind of a interesting relationship with the word caregiver since I've been married to Dan.
Yeah.
I think initially I would I don't know if take offense is the right word, but just kind of, I don't know, I've had I don't want to be referred to as a caregiver. And I've always felt like I don't need to be referred to as a caregiver, like as if it's a negative thing. I've always seen it as a negative thing, but lately I'm realizing it's not. I shouldn't be taking it as a negative. Like I am a caregiver on some levels. And like, what would be your definition of a caregiver? Like when people,
For
not for
me,
you, but like when you think of the word
right.
caregiver, if it related to anybody else, like what does
Yeah.
that
My
entail?
perspective, like, would entail like helping somebody get dressed or helping them with eat or with the bathroom or, like having to help them in the parts of their lives where they really can't do anything for themselves physically. So that's my opinion and thought of a caregiver.
Yeah. And I guess that's why I've had kind of I can't think of the word, but like just don't think that it applies to me because you are so independent. I don't have to like help you do like the daily living essentials at all. I don't have to help you use the bathroom or shower or get into bed or get dressed or do any of those things. And so maybe I'm like more offended on your behalf when people
Yeah,
refer to
maybe.
me as a caregiver because I'm like,
I mean, I was a single dad
fine.
and like had my two girls and was, trying to live the life before we were dating and even through while we were dating, like adding that to the mix. But
Yeah. But I think I am. So I had a situation where I was having a conversation with a woman and just like a normal conversation about our families, about our jobs, about whatever. And then out of the blue, she said to me, so, and she's never met my husband. She's not like a family friend or anything, just kind of an acquaintance. And out of the blue, she just said to me, "So, do you like being a caregiver?" And it totally caught me off guard because, like, how am I supposed to answer that question? No, I hate helping my husband or what. But again, I don't consider myself a caregiver. But it gave me kind of a reason to ponder on it and have a conversation with Dan about it. And I think on some levels, I am a caregiver. Like, I have to load your wheelchair in and out of the car. I have to have a lot of patience with how much
time,
time it takes you to do things that other
yeah.
people don't. Um, I have to, I don't know. I think patience is a big one, just how long it takes in the bathroom, how long it takes to get in and out of the car, how long it takes to whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, caregiver is an interesting one. Put in the comments like what your opinion is
Yeah, that'd be a
on,
good one.
on caregiving and what you consider a caregiver, and also if you are a caregiver, I'd love to hear like your perspective on what that entails and how you view that for yourself.
And like with the wheelchair thing that like you were just talking about, it's if we're going somewhere and I have any of the kids or Andrea, I'll generally have them put the wheelchair in just so that they can sit up front or make it quicker. Being able to go and do whatever we're going to do. Like I can put the wheelchair in on the front passenger seat pretty quickly or even behind me into the next row so that if it's an adult that's riding with me, they can also sit up front. So it's like, not that I can't put my wheelchair in and that I wouldn't be able to, but it's much more convenient and makes much more sense when we're together or when we have any of the kids. They all know that they're going to help out with the wheelchair.
Yeah, I think the other part in our situation about being a caregiver for you would entail like when you have medical issues. I'm very much a caregiver in those situations. When there's been times where you've been incapacitated, there's been a lot that I've had to go through on my own while you've been down and out in the hospital. As a caregiver, I've had to make medical decisions for you, make sure that you're taking your medications right, make sure that you're like taking care of your own health is a big thing for you because you'll just go and go and go. And I'll have to like
That is true. Even on the
the
daily.
burden. I feel like a lot of time the burden is on me to make sure that you take care of your health, which that's not something I would have to deal with if you weren't a medically needy person, right? So, but you're a caregiver to me too, with my MS. If I'm down and out or fatigued or I have to take a nap in the middle of the day to make sure I have energy to do the rest or whatever. I mean, Dan's doing laundry and taking care of kids and bathing kids and taking care of all the things. So I think we're just a good team.
Yeah, I think you just have to be flexible and also humble to be able to
To accept.
to accept to accept care in whichever capacity that's going to come into the scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting when you were talking about that comment on the caregiver side of things. But
All right, so let's shift the conversation to like misconceptions that people have towards us as a couple, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions. In fact,
for sure,
not too long ago, somebody left a comment on one of our videos that said something to the effect of, man, that's the kind of guy I want to marry because they would never cheat on me. And she was
Indicated.
referring to the fact that Dan used a wheelchair and that she didn't think because he was in a wheelchair that he would have the capacity or would make the choice to cheat. Oh my God.
no, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, that.
So let's talk about that misconception about maybe our like.
I think that's one of the questions a lot of people have and wouldn't dare ask, or they're always afraid to ask. And I've had a couple of people comment or ask questions when we really are trying to get people to ask the questions that they always wonder. But one of them is like always, like, well, with your guys' like intimacy or sexual life, like, what happens there? Like, are you just paralyzed from the waist down and like you're just paralyzed and like there's no intimacy there? But that's just not the case. And that's, I think, just a question that a lot of people will just have, like looking at us as a couple, figuring that like we're kind of active, normal, attractive looking people, and like for sure she wants to be intimate, and for sure he wants to be, but sucks that he can't if he can't if I'm paralyzed. But there's like so many different levels of that, like to even get into is there's people that are paralyzed, like paraplegic or quadriplegic, that still can just have everything act normal in that department, male. And I don't follow the whole female side of things, but I know that girls with paraplegia are still getting pregnant and still having normal, healthy, intimate lives. But that is, I know, something that people wonder a lot about. And
Dan's really good about being upfront with people. In fact, when we meet people that are newly injured or talk on the phone to them, Dan almost immediately jumps into sexuality because
like bathroom and sex, there's just like not enough information.
Yeah, and it's stuff that people don't talk about. It's that even you right now, you're like beating around the bush and being like all stop being hesitant about talking about it. But yes, we do have sex. Yes, there are lots of ways, even as a paraplegic, that you can function sexually and have an intimate life. And when this lady made this comment about cheating, it was like indicating that, I don't know, maybe because physically she thought he couldn't be intimate with somebody that he wouldn't cheat, but cheating is so much a mental thing anyways. Even if he didn't function physically, like, it was just such an ignorant comment because, yeah, emotionally you can have affairs. You could be cheating in a lot of different ways that have nothing to do with your sexual function. But yeah, I think it is a common misconception that, like, how are people intimate? But I mean, use your imagination. Even if there wasn't function in the downstairs area, like, there's a lot of other things you could do. Your imagination. But yeah, there are a lot of options out there. So if you are someone that's paralyzed, if you're someone that's wondering, like, how am I going to date? How am I going to have an intimate life? Like, please feel free to reach out. Like, we know that's an awkward subject. Dan talks about how when he was in the hospital.
So many guys though that are more than willing to reach out and ask.
Yeah. To somebody that knows though, but so many people don't know somebody that's paralyzed that they can talk to about it, and it makes it really hard. Stop. So Dan talks about how when he was in the hospital, he like realized that he wasn't, like, after a few days, like, he wasn't having like normal
morning wood. Like,
And but that's something that he was like, I'm not about to talk to these like early
Yeah,
20s
like
CNAs about this, or
nurses
to
and
my
stuff.
nurses or the physical therapist. So it's like something that he had to just deal with all on his own. So
Well, I
yeah.
finally got really frustrated and was having like an emotional day because they were filling me full of all this stuff to like make you have soft stools, make your poop fall out easy. And anyways, like I was so frustrated because every time I transfer around for physical therapy, like I was having accidents, and I was just like, man, like I'm so done with this. Like this is embarrassing. It's so degrading, and I don't even want to be here. And then like I had a physical therapist or occupational therapist. She was just like, well, let's like talk about it. Like, what's wrong? Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do for money. I don't know. Like, like what if I'm going to ever be done like with all these bathroom problems? Like, I'm not going to be able to date if I'm like crapping myself all the time. And like, and then like, I, I don't even remember how I told her, but I was like, I haven't had an erection since I got here, so I don't know if that's like going to go away. Like, if that's something I'm stuck with, like, so I'm not like, what's going on like with that? And she's like, oh my gosh, like nobody's even talked to you. Like no, nobody's like brought up, hey, are you having erections still? Are you good there or anything? Like it was just like my divorce was finalizing, and I was still having like girls that I had been friends and dating a little bit, like showing up, and just like it was just like right on the forefront of my mind on what to do. But
Wait, you dated other girls?
no, I mean
What?
hypothetically.
I haven't heard of that. Just kidding.
So yeah, it was definitely frustrating to hear, but then to hear that there were options, all sorts of options, quickly put that to rest. It didn't make things like just easy and like, okay, good, we're good then. But it was like there was still quite a deal of frustration. But
If you had had someone else to talk to, though, that was in your same situation, that would have made all the world of difference
oh,
to you.
big
So,
time.
yeah, feel free to reach out. And I think, I don't know if I'm sure everyone's not like this, but for us, I know for Dan for sure, he would love if people asked the open, honest questions. Like, I think stuff just needs to be talked about more. Like, people shouldn't have to be suffering silently with these questions and issues. Like, yeah. So feel free to reach out in the comments or message us directly if you have any questions, or
Yeah.
just ask if you have misconceptions about people.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "Oh, geez, he's got a pretty hot wife. Like, too bad she doesn't have sex with her. Maybe I don't know."
Yeah.
But yeah,
Or
like, so you guys, anybody that is curious on that level. So when I first had my injury, like nothing was working down there, and wasn't able to have an erection, and super frustrated, and then like had that outed myself to my occupational therapist up there, and she was like, thankfully, like gave me words of encouragement and told me that there's lots of options that you can do. And one of them was like these, as I progressed and got out of the hospital, like I was doing these injections with like a little tiny diabetic needle, but you'd like inject the side of your penis, but it would cause all the blood to come and engorge your area, and then you could still have intercourse that way. It worked pretty well. Like when that came around as an option, like it was definitely a good thing to see that, okay, I can still have an erection and, be able to feel satisfied and gratified or whatever, like being able to function from there. But it was so frustrating still, like the medication, like I'd have it pre-filled in syringes, but then it would have to be cold or frozen. And then we were traveling a lot at the time, and it's like, well, how do we travel with this? Like if we're out, excuse me, if we're out on a date or having a great night, like where does the spontaneity come into things? Like you just can't run around with this injection, like waiting and hoping to use it, and then it gets too warm and doesn't work, and then puts you in another vicarious position if you're like expecting results, and the medication has
Yeah.
failed.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. It definitely made it hard to be spontaneous. And also like you didn't know how long it was going to last. So
Yeah,
like
geez,
it's
one
not like
time,
you could like inject that, have a quickie, and then like take off to the grocery store or
yeah,
something. Because you're like, I'm not
yeah,
sure when this is going to go away.
you've got to kind of plan that stuff out a lot. And so I remember I went to the ER one time finally because it was like the next morning I was like, it's still that's still not going away.
Yeah.
And I'd heard nightmares of people that have had problems and had erections for too long, and then they're like doing last minute savior penis results where they're like
Gosh.
jabbing it to bleed you out. But anyways,
Yeah, that's horrible. Didn't you say you have to use like this huge needle?
yeah, it's like,
It's
yeah, when I
crazy.
went in there, the horror stories that they were talking about is what finally I think caused my problem to go away. It was just like my body was like, no, don't hurry, let's work.
I would imagine that any men watching are probably like cringing at the thought of injecting their penis. So maybe address like the feeling of that, and also do you have
Yeah,
sensation
so
down
I
there?
do have like some sensation. It's definitely not anywhere near like before. So like the injection, like the diabetic needle is so small anyways. Like I mean, you'd feel like you can tell you'd feel the poke or whatever, but it wasn't anything horrible, painful or anything that way. And you just like you just do it real quick and then it's over. So it wasn't that bad. And yeah, it definitely wasn't like some big long needle that you're having to use. It's like little tiny 1/4 inch long needle or 5/16 and really thin gauge. So it didn't like it wasn't bad. But anyways, there was just all sorts of problems with it not being.
As far as like sensation, like feeling sexually, like you've had to learn and adapt and like
Oh
get
yeah,
creative on
yeah,
how to feel that intimate connection without, because you are paralyzed from the waist down, so you don't have like full filling in
no,
your penis and can't like, and you don't have ejaculations and stuff.
yeah,
So it's like, but we have an incredible sex life and enjoy on so many levels, and like it's such a mental game. Maybe you don't realize how much it is a mental game until you are faced with the situation where that's the only thing you can feel everything with your eyes and your all your other sensations. So
yeah. I think for sure, like it changed the way that I would enjoy sex because it's like more thought, probably more of like what a woman normally would have to like engage in, wanting to be there like mentally and really into it and like just really feeling the more connected we are, like the better things feel. Like I do, and through the years, like I've continued to get more sensation. It's been really great that way, but yeah, it brings up all sorts of questions like, okay, like when do you stop, and like like
yeah,
when do you just say okay, and like
that was definitely a
go, like
conversation that we had in the beginning, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like normally when you have sex there's like an ending point for both of you, right? Like, but it was like, okay, like how do we how and when do we end this, right? Especially if it's lasting till the morning, we don't need to.
yeah, just keep on going. No,
So
lot of
what other
communication.
options are there besides the
So
injections?
the way I ended up
Oh,
going,
and by the way, this is not just something that paralyzed people.
no,
Like you
absolutely,
see posters and billboards for erectile dysfunction everywhere. Like, and people your age are dealing with the same problem that aren't paralyzed.
in their
Right?
late 20s. But yeah, yeah, the option that I just wasn't satisfied mentally and had all sorts of other, as you can tell, like qualms with how dependent we had to be on other things, but just wanted to be spontaneous. Like sexuality is like a normal, good, healthy thing for me. I wanted more control of it. So as I looked into different options, like ended up going with doing like a penile implant. So no, it's not like putting on a new penis or anything. Like you just keep your same body
It's
and
also
everything.
not like breast implants where it just makes it
Yeah,
a
you
lot
can't you know
It's
you
not
can't
how it
just
works
pick and
either.
choose what size you want to go. You are what you are, and they just basically take the penis has two tubes on each side, which is normally filled with like a spongy material that when you are getting into the mood, usually fill up and engorge with blood. But now they take that out and put in two silicone chambers that are matched to your body before, during, and after. And then there's like a reservoir inside that keeps the solution that fills that up. So it's always, you don't have like a cold, shocking penis or anything weird. It's all natural and normal. And I don't think the woman would even know if like you could pretty much keep it
Yeah, I don't think you would.
private without anybody knowing if you were really trying to. But it has a little inflatable pump. Remember, it always comes to mind when I say that. Like I remember when I was in junior high, the Nike pumps, Jordan, like they'd have like this pump on your shoe. And anyways, like I think of that all the time. But
It
anyways,
does
it's like,
feel like that, right?
yeah, I've got like
Not
this
that I would know.
third testicle that again is just
It's not a third testicle.
no, I'm saying it's like having a third
Oh,
testicle
okay.
because it's in your sac,
Scrotum.
area. So anyways,
This is getting so
yeah,
interesting.
it's really a lot more information than I was thinking. That's why I'm like hesitant on how far we just keep on talking, but there it is. So anyways, you're able to inflate and then push a certain way to get it to deflate. And so it was in my mind, it was going to be like this great option. And it's thankfully and honestly, it's been amazing. Like for a minute after I had the surgery, I was like, and if you've been in this situation, maybe you can relate. So if anybody else has had this surgery and you felt this way afterwards, I'm just curious if I was just different. But like I almost was grieving the fact that I committed to the surgery and stuff
because
afterwards. Because
once you commit to that, if for some reason you miraculously got more function or more feeling back, like there's no turning back.
Right.
Like it alleviates the option for you to naturally be able to get an erection in the future. So it was a huge decision, and it was actually something that you were really scared to do. And
Yeah.
it took a long time for you to like really make that decision. And even up till the morning of the surgery, you were very hesitant about it.
Yeah, for sure it was. Yeah, I had a lot of questions and fears, and yeah, it's like stepping into the unknown and never going to go back afterwards, And so anyways, there was a lot of last minute fears and stuff, but
It's been a huge blessing, though. It sounds funny, but intimacy is a huge part of marriage, and to be able to be spontaneously
and
intimate,
confidence too.
Yeah,
Like
and-
just like
yeah.
I feel like a normal, I don't know.
And again, like everything on the outside looks and feels and acts normal. It's just like what's on the inside that's different. But yeah, it's been a huge. If any of you are questioning on whether that might be a good idea, like you would say go for it, right?
Yeah, I've told several people
Yeah.
like really, 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 really plan it out, because it's like I would never tell anybody to go get a motorcycle, like for and all purposes. Like I used to love riding motorcycles, but I would never ever tell somebody to do it, because I wouldn't want them to like go out and get hurt and then be a part of that decision. So anyways, I'm all about informing people about it. But when you make that decision, that's on you. But for me, it was great. Like it gave me all sorts of confidence and like the spontaneity back, and like just not having to worry about all the other things that were just like taking from the moment for me. Like,
Yeah.
so
You
it
can
made a
just-
big deal.
If we want to, we can, and the kids are all of a sudden all occupied on the TV. Like we can hurry and have a quickie and
And
be
then
totally
not
fine.
be stuck with an
Before we
erection the
couldn't
rest
do
of the day
that.
too. You know,
That's, I mean, imagine if with your spouse you couldn't just like be intimate when you wanted to. It's actually a really, really, really hard thing.
yeah. So yeah, and it's been yeah, it was definitely a plus, a bonus to have, and just gave back a lot of normality.
Yeah, it made you feel
So
like you were a man again,
yeah,
right? That's
there was so much frustration and stuff with the injections, and you guys, like, if you didn't, it's like if you don't use it, you lose it type mentality is what you're told. And so, like, even if you weren't being intimate and you're having like a period of time where you weren't, like, you're still doing the injections to make sure your body isn't like
shriveling up.
like yeah, shriveling up for all intents and purposes of any more wording. But yeah, you don't want to feel like you're losing anything. So yeah, anyways, it's with the prosthesis side, or with the whatever I called that. Yeah. Anyways, it's great because you don't have to worry about having an erection too long, or time wise or anything, like, because the blood, it's not a blood flow issue anymore. You're not worried about blood clots and things, which is what the main problem is with the other situations. So it's a huge blessing that way.
Yeah.
Too. So there's no fear. You can do what your life intimately is just more normal. The biggest misconception might be that somebody with a disability, there's so many different disabilities, but in relation to paralysis in a wheelchair, there's always a misconception of, oh man, like, this person's disabled now he can't have a
Hold on 1
family.
second.
Hopefully that answers the majority of your questions as far as intimacy goes with our life, and that you guys, if there's somebody looking for options, like, there are other options. There's still other options on top of that. So those are just some things that can help you mentally chase down some different things. Feel free to ask me questions yeah, on our email or whatever else too, and be more than happy to answer you back on that. So there's still several people I've talked to, even just recently, somebody just had the surgery. So we'll see how they like it, if they have any of the regrets afterwards for a minute. But the regrets will go away. You'll love the normal side of things. But going back into misconceptions, though, like, I think the biggest misconception, and as I think about just like the room, like, and that we've had your parents around and everything, I think a misconception is like, a guy in a wheelchair or a girl in a wheelchair, like, are they able to work and provide and like have a normal life again? And just to summarize a lot of that, like, I'm like able to work and function all freely away from Andrea. I'm able to, and people with paralysis are able to live lives on their own independently if they want to. And the wheelchair isn't that big of a deal to break down and take with you in the car. And there's all sorts of options on being able to drive your car. All of our cars have hand controls. I do 98% of our driving, even with our camp trailer and all of our stuff, and like working on 4-wheelers and fun things with the kids, and the riding lawnmower. I have it all rigged up too. So
He literally, like, what did you use to attach the PVC pipe to
sprinkler
the
pipe.
gas pedal so that he has his own hand control so he can run the riding lawnmower?
Yeah, and that's a whole skill, man. You got to be able to drive and steer and gas and brake all at the same time. And yeah, so I put a spinner knob on the steering wheel, and yeah. Anyways, so there's no limits, you guys. Like, don't put limits on someone with a disability, and don't put a limit on yourself if you have a disability. Like, find a way to do it. There's lots, like, seriously, like, I've blown my own mind on things that I've been able to accomplish and do from a wheelchair. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just
that-
keep proving that you can do things that probably other people don't think you can do. So yeah, I think that's great. My biggest suggestion would be, if you do have misconceptions, like, feel free to ask people. Like, Dan would have no problem
most
literally if
people.
somebody came up to him in the grocery store and was like, dude, can you still have sex? Like, or, hey, how do you, like, do you think it's all right to, like, have kids still and
That was
be a dad? Like,
oh,
that
man.
was something that was really hard, and we're going to talk about that in another episode.
Yeah, that was a big
But
thought I
just
had. A punch today in the face, and yeah, all those excuses and things that you could use, toss them aside, man. Like,
yeah.
get up and do it.
And then don't judge people.
Yeah.
So if you like this episode, check out our other videos. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
So if I